animation in India was pioneered by the Indian advertisement industry. Today, we see this industry resorting to animation in a big way to capture the viewers. The animation industry in India is currently growing at a capital growth rate of 30% and is estimated to reach 1.5 billion US dollars by 2007. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back and watch out.
In order to initiate the proceedings of the day, I would like to welcome on stage a very esteemed guest, Professor G.D. Sharma. Professor Sharma is the Director of Consortium for Educational Communication, CEC, an autonomous body of University Grants Commission. Professor Sharma had been Secretary at University Grants Commission and Senior Fellow of National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration. Sir made a significant contribution in the field of higher education. He is an extensively traveled person in India and abroad. Sir, we warmly welcome you.
I would now request Professor V.P. Joshi to please come up on the stage. Mr. Joshi is the Director of Birla Institute of Technology, New York.
I am highly obliged to welcome Major Narpat Singh, the Director of BIT Jaipur. So we are pleased to have you here.
Sir M.M. Pant to come up on the stage. Sir has been a part of the faculty of IIT Kanpur and Motilal Nehru Engineering College. He also has been a visiting professor of University of Western Ontario, Canada. He has made tremendous contribution in distance learning and technology-enhanced training programs. Professor Pant is a unique combination of law and IT education. He has been actively participated in cyber law, patent and trademark issues, intellectual property right issues, etc.
May I now have the opportunity to welcome another esteemed guest for today's seminar. Please welcome Mr. K. Rajesh Rao, the founder and CEO of Bit Interactive, India's oldest and most respected gaming company. He began his entrepreneurial career in the year 1955 when he founded Shrishti Interactive, which is a multimedia company. He may also worked as a consultant research assistant at the Royal Institute of Technology, Sweden. Sir, we welcome you to BIT Mesra, Noida.
I would now request Mr. Rahul Bakshi to please come up on the stage. Mr. Bakshi is the CEO of Phobos Creations based in Pune. Animation is his passion, as he found it interesting and immensely creative. Phobos wanted to create Indian content, keeping in mind the large and varied audience and IP creations. The company has produced VCDs which are marketed by Times Multimedia. He is presently working for an animated feature and television series for the Indian market.
So we again welcome you. I would now like to welcome on stage Mr. Anand Gurnani, the Chief Editor of Animation Express. Animation Express has been constantly evolving and is today widely read publication with news, information, knowledge on animation, VFX and gaming industry. Sir, we warmly welcome you.
I would now request Mr. Paresh Mehta to please come up on the stage. Mr. Mehta is the founder member and CEO of Gecko Animation Studios and Academy of Digital Arts. He is a graduate from the prestigious National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. He obtained his master's degree from the Academy of Arts University, San Francisco.
I would now like to call upon stage Dr. C.P. Srivastava, the Educational Advisor of BIT Mesra, Noida.
C.P. Srivastav, the Educational Advisor of PIT Noida, to give a welcome address.
So please.
It's really a great privilege for me to organize this seminar. Let me give a little background about the seminar. How did we conceive this idea? Actually, it's about a year and a half back when we thought of starting this whole program. Fortunately, we got a good combination. Myself from administration side, and Mr. Ajay Joshi from the industry. We thought together, we initiated the program with the blessings of our management. The program got so much of success that we have started this program at our Jaipur center also. We were the first to start this degree course in India. There are many institutes which are running the whole programs, but at a very exorbitant cost and short-term courses, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, like that. So we thought to serve out with this whole profession, we must start with a very, very normal fees, just like any other graduate student fees. So last year, we realized that there is a need to create awareness. Since we were the first to start, there was not much of consciousness. So we organized a seminar here that was more or less an awareness seminar. Now I know many more institutes have followed us. They have also started the graduate programs. So this year we thought to have a seminar where our students from Noida and Jaipur, now we have got 3 batches at Noida Center and 1 batch at, 2 batches rather at Jaipur, to expose them with the present trends of the whole profession, of the animation. Just to give an opportunity to them to interact with our distinguished guests, their views, the scope, the future and all that. That's why we organized this seminar. But let me tell you at this point that we have been very open on this. Our interest is not just to limit ourselves. We kept this seminar open for any student from any institute. He can join us. He or she can join us. So we made a wide publicity at different institutions. If they are interested, they can always. This gives an opportunity for the cross-fertilization of the new concepts and ideas. That was our basic intention. Our intention is just to support and promote the animation as culture. As we all know, this is the future. It is booming, and we are not having sufficient trained manpower. But that is the background. That's why we organized this workshop, this seminar, and we requested our distinguished speakers on this occasion. Let me tell you one thing. This whole program is being organized by my students. If there are gaps, there are slips, hope you will bear with us. With all this, now I request Professor G.D. Sharma for his presidential address.
Professor B.P. Joshi, Professor Srivastava, Professor M. Pant, and many CEOs present here. I thought they are, when you hear the word CEO, you must be having imagination that some must be very senior, old people sitting on the head of the organization. In the first instance, I thought they are animating themselves as young persons. But later on when I touched them, I said, no, they are real. They are not animating themselves. And almost all of them are less than 30. So animation, if appears to be real one, then there is a challenge. That's the kind of challenge which animation has. And real in the sense that when you are seeing a person, you say that it is animated, but it is appearing to be real one. That's the kind of today challenge. And when you are doing any kind of promo, or you are trying to communicate a message, and that message directly reaches to the person through certain graphics, 3D animations, and 2D animations, then it directly goes to the person. And that is the strength of this animation art, or the science, both. It is science and art both, because it is using the computer, it is using the aesthetics, it is using the ideas, and then converting into a kind of a picture, or the visual, which has larger effect. This is a new art, in fact. Sometimes people misconceive animation as a morphing also. Morphing for a different purpose. You put a very good leader's photograph and put very young person's all other details. and then you think you are doing the animation. That's not real animation. That's kind of morphing and trying to use something that. But the real animation is trying to convey a particular message which is sometimes hidden also. You might find there are certain things which are not coming out. That's why, you know, in the olden days when our persons who used to write the cartoon in the newspaper, they used to reveal certain things which are even not known to the person himself. That's the kind of art it is. That's the kind of science it is. And the animation also gets into that announcement of that cartoon culture, which was trying to express everything in a short cartoon which used to Sudhir Teleng or any other person's thing, which just in one small thing used to explain the whole story of any event which was taking place. You might have seen some of the cartoons of Pandit Nehru or Vajpayee or the present Prime Minister, etc. In one small cartoon they are conveying the whole message at the back of it. The animation is also part of that kind of story, that one or two animations are conveying the whole story in a fraction of seconds. That's the difference. Not only a minute, fraction of seconds has it. You look and then you immediately get the idea of that. And that's the kind of a thing which we are there trying. I'm very happy to know that Birla Institute of Technology particularly started this program. This is a new program. There are no well-defined literature available on this. It's an evolving subject. It's a growing subject every day. And to take a plunge in this kind of area is a really challenge. It's a really adventure. When Professor Srivastava was discussing, I said this is a new area. There is no body of literature available right now in a very concise form. You have to evolve the literature. You have to evolve the program. And on that basis, because when you are doing the graduate program, you have to have a structure of syllabus, you have the structure of detailed material, you have the structure of all other and evaluation system. In the absence of that, taking this kind of initiative, I consider as a great achievement by the VITs, particularly when they are trying to go to newer areas where very few institutions are working now. Many institutions are working in Hong Kong, many institutions are working in USA, some of the institutions are working in China very strongly, but very few institutions are working in India on this subject. Now, so far communication, this particular animation has been used by the promotional advertisement, etc. But nowadays it has become very essential in educational programs also. I'm looking into the education programs, particularly the educational communication. At the school level, it has become much more effective. Other day I saw a very good animation done by them, by this very institute, and to convey the family planning message. It's a social messaging which we call it. It was so effective that immediately the message went across. And this not only to rural people, young boys or the adults. Sometimes it cuts across the age group, and then you are able to convey the same message. That's the kind of strength animation has. So school education, if you like to use the animation, try to convey certain processes, certain programs, animation becomes very important in education. Similarly for higher education, similarly for other levels of education, etc. This is and the social messaging in another part of the communication where you can use animation. And the 3D animations are very useful for skill development program in education. If you want to teach a person how a particular component is working, even if you break open that component, you are not able to see the functioning of it. Through animation, you can really show each and every part functioning and then explain it, and the student will get the idea that how the person who is trying to learn something, he get the idea that how particular function. And with this, you can really teach doing things effectively and with the quality, with the skill which the person is required. So animation directly helps in terms of imparting the skills, which were not. We used to draw the figure on the blackboard, sometimes very detailed, sometimes we tried to 3D, but still process was not being shown. Here the process, each part you remove, then edit, and then say how it works. That also can be shown. That's the strength of the animation, and that will be there. Another aspect of animation which I like to share, I think the expert is going to speak on this, that it's a more creative thinking. It's a lateral thinking. It's altogether, as De Bono used to say, not in a straight-jacketed form. You have learning something, you have seen it, but lateral thinkers think differently and convey the meaning in a different manner. So it's a creative and lateral thinking. It is not a stereotype thinking. If you are a stereotype, you will not be able to animate effectively, and you will not be able to communicate your message, because all those things which are known and people don't look at it again. So it's a creative thinking becomes very important, and when being creative you have to be aesthetic also. It's not just to be creative, you can show a new product, but if it's not aesthetic, which earlier we used to know that very good camera were developed by Russia, and they were very good in terms of its production, in terms of the quality of picture is to take, but handling was very difficult. So people said, no, Russian camera are very tardy to look at it. So they went to the sleek one. So Japanese and all those things. So what is creativity along with the aesthetic? That becomes a very important dimension. Many of the programs which they have put it, I have seen it. Last time I also saw some of their programs, and the syllabus they have developed is quite impressive. I'm sure the student undergoing this program will acquire all the three aspects which I said: creativity, aesthetic, and lateral thinking, and kind of new way of looking at it, and conveying the message so effectively that each and every aspect is conveyed in a short period of time. That's the kind of thing which they are doing. I once again congratulate the BITS and Srivastava and Professor Joshi for taking this initiative. I learned that they also started a center in Rajasthan. Rajasthan is full of creativity in many ways. If you look at go to various parts of the Rajasthan and start from the Bardmer and Jaisalmer to any part of Bundi and Kota, there was a school which was started the painting first, and miniature painting started there, and that you might find some of the aspects of animation were also put into it. And if Rajasthan people are also participating in animation, probably the earlier tradition of developing the good painting, good art might as well lead them to good aesthetics, good creativity, and engage themselves in more. As far as the demand is concerned, our young friends have already, both of young friends have already given you very, very rosy picture. And it's not only rosy, it's going to be real one. Earlier days were of BPO people. The future is going to be those who are animation, 3D animations, etc. Because that is going to be used in content generation, content development, content transmission. And content is going to be the future demand for the future. In content in any form, social messaging form, promote form, any form, or education form. And your demand is going to be much more, other than the smaller area, but in the larger area of content creation, content communication also. So you can feel happy that these CEOs, young CEOs, are real one, and by the time you come out, maybe some of you become the CEO itself for a big company and start the company and do the good job. I wish all of you great success, and with this, I welcome all of you again.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us.
Thanks, Professor Sharma, for presenting animation so crisply as to how it touches our real lives. Thanks for encouraging all animators. Now may I request the chief guest, Professor M.M. Pant, for an inaugural address.
Good morning, Professor Sharma, Professor Joshi, Dr. Srivastava, General Bhat Singh, and all the young CEOs which we can put in one collective group. I am indeed delighted to be here once again, and I'm saying once again because when we came in here last time, this room was still being made, finishing touches were being given to the laboratories, and the programs were being launched. We are now at a stage when we see things happening, there's a greater degree of confidence, there's a good relationship with industry, where people from industry are actually willing to come and talk. And as was said in the initial thing, there is a general feel-good thing about the whole thing. I have another opportunity to speak to you at length, and there is a schedule, so I don't want to be too long. But I want to say a few things to set you thinking. And some of these things are that we are actually moving into a completely new realm of society, and the transformation that is upon us is in a very rapid stage. And we have actually, as you can see in this room itself, people of the past, before whom the world of cinema actually happened, and people of the future who are born digital. I mean, if you look at your very young children, I mean, We see you as our children and your children as younger children. You see, these are all digital natives, if you like. And I will share with you a true story, which is the kind of challenge that is going to happen. I have a niece which should be about 7-8 years of age. And like every such child of this generation, she sees a lot of movies, she plays video games, she plays computer games, she sees Cartoon Network, and she sees all kinds of things. What we like to call a screenager. A screenager is somebody who lives off the screen. The screen can be the mobile, the screen can be the laptop, the screen is the desktop, the screen is in the multiplex which he sees, and these are all screenagers. So you don't have to wait till they become teenagers. As screenagers itself, they have their questions and real questions about the world. And one day she asked me in all seriousness, is the image that we see of Amitabh Bachchan the image of a real person, or is it an artificially created image, the kind I see on my video games and so on? Now you see that this is a real challenge already to people, that you can have real people and their images and manipulate their images. You have things in motion. In some sense, animation is all art in motion. And therefore there's something called a timeline with it, and to some extent it therefore similar to music. And you have the traditional old photography or painting or whatever, where you created images of this kind. In this case, of course, you could probably answer by getting Amitabh Bachchan to come face to face and show that here is the real person. But suppose the same question was asked about Marilyn Monroe or Madhubala. How would you establish that the images that you see are that of a real person? Not. While today's technology is such that you can almost clearly distinguish synthetic images with images of real people, but you all know, and you're all practitioners here, that this division is getting less and less, and that there have been movies where when some actor refused to cooperate, they said, hell with you, we'll create an image, and so on. There are newsreaders which are complete images, and so on. So now you have human beings, you have images of human beings, and you have completely synthetic images which can behave the same way that you want. Whatever may be the limitations of technology, they are going to be overcome. You all know that computers are becoming faster and faster. You compare the processing power, and some of you have been in the business for a couple of years. Power which was 5 years ago, power which you have today, and power which you can extrapolate to happen. Something which was considered a huge professional thing is something which is today a semi-professional thing. Tomorrow it will be an amateur thing. You've seen this happening in cameras. You've seen digital cameras that now you have on cell phones also 2 megapixels, 5 megapixels is an ordinary camera, and you're going beyond 8 megapixels isn't really very important. So you imagine now a world which is coming into where everybody is a potential animator, because the tools which were considered specialist tools, the movie industry made it, they made it for a particular movie, then they sold it as products for people who make movies. But you've seen this happen in other fields of software. Once the basic money has been recovered, it is then given away on mass scale. So what are we moving towards? We are moving towards a kind of a proletariat of animators, because just like anybody can use a Word file, can use a PowerPoint file, can use simple Photoshop, etc., whatever may be the most sophisticated. The point I want to therefore suggest to you is to start looking at a little bit about the fundamentals and the futures. One of the problems about getting into a trap of plenty for today is something that it also perishes very soon when the things changes. And this not happened in IT alone. You know that anybody who had, let's say, the basic software called what used to be WordStar, WordPerfect, Display, Write, etc., and who might have been great with that and getting a lot of money, they all kind of disappeared. There was long ago something called the Irish potato famine. And the Irish potato famine story is very simple. In 1 year in Ireland, the people who had grown potato as opposed to other crops got a lot of money. So next year everybody started growing potato, and there was a crash, and therefore we actually had famine in spite of a bumper crop. So when there are shortages, certain skills are in great demand, but once skills are in great demand, large number of people start acquiring those skills, and there are countries in the world like India, China, Brazil, which will put together and create 1 million people of whatever skill you want if there were a demand. And then of course that skill declines in importance and moves away. What I'm trying to say is therefore that you need to start looking at not being just a set of troops in the army of animators, which is what much of the industry will talk to you about, because they will say 2 lakh jobs are required. They don't have your interest particularly in mind. What they have is they need a troop of 2 lakh soldiers to go and fight a battle, which is a battle for some corporate contracts. While it is good to partner with them for a short term, in a longer term you need to see your own interests. Your own interests will come when you develop certain higher level skills, higher level strategic skills. And this is important because a lot of this media hype is about trying to see that everybody who does animation must become part of a troupe of some large well-known company. What I'm trying to hint to you is that animation will continue to be there. I'm not saying animation will be dead. But what I'm saying is don't become a landless laborer in the field of animation. Just like we had people who had gone to Mauritius and Fiji and wherever there was sugar cane or plantation or tobacco to be grown, but learn that skills and go one step further and become an entrepreneur like many of those sitting on the dais here. There was a time when trying to become an entrepreneur was difficult. When trying to become successful as part of yourself independently was difficult, and therefore you had to align yourself to the large forces. But in recent times, because of the same technology which you are utilizing, this has changed. And this has been said most vividly by Thomas Friedman in a book called The World is Flat. This is a very interesting book which all of you should try to glance through at least. And I will in a couple of minutes try to summarize for you the essential features. This book is a book which glorifies India like nobody else has done. And Thomas Friedman is a New York journalist, 3 times Pulitzer Award winner. So he's not one of our NASCOM kind of guys who might be talking hype. And what he talks about is that Indians are the people who are almost going to, if you say in the Bible they said the meek shall inherit the earth, Thomas Friedman is almost trying to say that the Indians shall inherit the earth, closely followed by the Chinese. Now he talks about the kind of a globalization, and he uses this word of the world becoming flat, and what he tries to he compares himself with Christopher Columbus, who actually sat around to validate that the earth is round. So he took the, and although he wanted to come to India, he ended up discovering America. And Thomas Friedman says that he is on a discovery to India, and he discovered that the world is flat in the sense that the barriers between different parts of the world have disappeared. The first version of globalization that he talks, version 1.0, is a good old colonization where we had all these, the British, the French, the Portuguese, the Dutch, they with their navies sailed to different parts of the globe, took different territories. In India also they bifurcated, somebody took Goa, somebody took Pondicherry and so on and so forth, and they divided the world among themselves. The next version of globalization was when the multinationals did the same. So the big corporate companies, multinational companies went out and did it. But what he says is that the year 2000 and beyond is globalization version 3.0, where it is the small and medium enterprises with skill sets which they have and the quality of work which they deliver, whereby they become really globalized elements. And therefore, you can be sitting anywhere and actually be doing work for anybody else in the world. Not necessarily have to be part of a corporate team. And why is this important is that no matter how significantly glorified your role or made glamorous in a company, as you might be called VP, senior VP, super VP, whatever, it's not of any consequence compared to being an owner of intellectual property. And this whole game is, in fact, animation is the first flavor, if you might say, of what is happening in the new emerging knowledge economy. All earlier examples that we have were largely the industrial economy and a little bit of data processing in the industrial economy, largely using the IT to improvise the functioning of the industrial economy. So you began with payroll, then did inventory, then did ERP, then did something else and so on. But animation industry is pure knowledge. It's pure knowledge because I'm sure all of you here who are doing this would have most likely disliked pure mathematics and mathematical stuff. Is that correct or not? How many of you really loved mathematics? Raise your hands. Okay, a couple of them. Very good. you have a bright future. But majority are the ones who probably hated mathematics. And what are your tools built of? They're all built of algorithms based on Bayesian curves, Euler's algorithms, fractals, and you name it. I mean, everything is based on that kind of a thing. So here is an example of something which was all those mathematicians who did all this, Euler and Bezier and fractals and wavelets. Would you ever do a course on wavelets if somebody gave it to you? Unlikely. Now, but that is the building tools of what you're doing. This is what the knowledge economy is about, and this is what Thomas Friedman is talking about. That knowledge which was considered useless, of interest only to philosophers or somewhat crazy mathematicians who were doing lemma and theorem and trying to prove if this is this then that is that. That suddenly has become commercial success at $1 million a minute is what you get for using those mathematical theorems applied to real context. And for this, of course, the information technology and computing industry also came forth. So, something as abstract as mathematics, something as useless as mathematics is today actually one of the most highly yielding things. I'm saying this because in your case it is so, but there are so many instances. I mean, you go out of animation, you go into security, you'll again find that a whole set of algorithms, which are pure algorithms dealing with prime numbers and factorization and logarithmic transforms and so on, are now the hottest of properties. You create all this video stuff, etc., etc. And if you have 2 lakh people producing even 2 hours of content a day, imagine the amount of content that will happen, and you are not alone. You have got China and of course everybody else. So just imagine that what. Now where will your content be lost in this din and cacophony of animation? So you will again need to go to somebody like Google who will try to search your content out either through keywords or through context or through something else you put in. Again, Google search is a pure algorithm. The whole way of getting one piece of data upon millions is basically trying to say that you have a heap of sand and you've got some particles and you want precisely that particle to come out. And today when you do a query on Google, you get 100,000 results and you never go beyond page 3 of whatever you got out. So it's of no use. So what do you want? You want that when somebody is seeking the animation clip that you made, he should straight away from whatever he has in mind be able to get to this thing in the fastest time. But I'm saying creating animation is just the part of the universe of animation because eventually things have to be useful. And while the film distributors, etc., the mechanism for distribution today, you imagine a situation which is into the future, and you all know that. I mean, all of you are aware of iPods. Some of you obviously have iPods, the others probably wish they had one. And of course, you had the video iPod, which was released on 12th October 2005. So what does it mean? That your customers are every pocket. Every pocket, or in fact, every jeans which has a pocket for iPod is practically your customer. Now, if that is your customer, it's no longer Hollywood and Bollywood alone. So what I'm first trying to say is, one is that the picture is much bigger. The picture is not limited to Hollywood, Bollywood. At one level, I would say all these estimates you can multiply 100 in terms of the people that you need as animators and people who can create animation. And the other thing that I want to say is, don't think only of getting into one of these things as a dream activity. In terms of what Professor says, so now try to become more creative. So start looking at animation which you can create, and another expression that now the world is talking about is that small is beautiful. In fact, you know, the Bollywood movies try to extend till they fill 3 hours. Now they're trying to understand that Hollywood actually makes shorter things. Most animation movies, I don't know what is standard, I think it's 11 minutes or so is typical of this thing, unless they make a full-fledged feature film. So you could look at things which are a couple of minutes but have a huge impact. Impact is not proportional to the length of the movie. Impact is proportional to the creativity that you put in. So what I'm really trying to say is that this is first a flavor of the knowledge economy. I'm also subtly hinting that don't hate maths, don't hate some of the sciences, because if you are able to get a handle on that, you need not become a mathematician, but at least understand that functionally. I mean, just like you would probably understand the differences between the engines of a car, I mean, you understand the difference between a Ferrari and a Maruti 800, try to understand the differences between various mathematical tools that exist and what they can do for you and so on and so forth. You may not go inside the hood of these, but try to figure that out. Don't be only skill based. You see, one of the major problems of the information economy, and it will become worse in the knowledge economy, is that the skills of a lifetime become obsolete in an instant. So your skills may be very important today, but just go back. I mean, I gave you examples on each of these fields. Look at a person who was great with WordStar. Look at a person who was great with Lotus 123. Look at a person who was great with Harvard graphics for being able to make presentations. Will anybody even look him up? So skills alone will not, but competencies will. It is important to differentiate between that, because most of the software providers will talk of skills and emphasizing the skills, whereas what continues and what remains is the competencies. The reason why, for example, those people who are successful is, and this has been said by many people, and it has of course been said by Thomas Friedman in the book that is, who will be the successful people in this knowledge economy? The successful people will be those who are the highly adaptable people. We know this from evolution in some sense. The Darwinian theory of evolution talked about survival of the fittest, but it talks over thousands of years of scale. We are talking over years and half years and quarters. How adaptable are you? When you look at adaptability, it means that you should be able to have multiple skills and change your skill set very quickly. Now, at one time, and especially when we were young, this was frowned upon. He said, oh, jack of all trades, master of none, very bad. You must specialize, you must do engineering. Within engineering, you must do this engineering. Within that also, within electrical, electronics, high voltage electrical, routine this thing, microelectronics, etc. They distinguish and specialized. And a specialist is somebody who knew more and more about less and less until he knew everything about nothing. Now, the point that we need to talk about it is very important that you have a smattering of a whole lot of things. It is very important that while you are good, so what I say is you must be a jack of many skills and master of some. Being master of one is not enough. You have to be able to have number. So these really adaptable kind of people is what are likely going to be successful in the future. And it is towards that you will also have another challenge which has never happened to people before. Very often, and we've seen this in the past and it has thrown us into a degree of complacency, the people who were more experienced knew what is happening and could tell the people who were following that we have gone the way and this is what happens, this is what is good for you. The future is completely different. In the future, people who have experienced in the past have no clue what the future can be about. They can have no clue because this is a disruptive stage. This is a certain disruption which has happened. And let me go back. At some point of time, we were all cave dwellers. We lived in our caves, watched the paintings on the wall, went out a little bit. There were some animals. We were often came back to the cave, safe that no animal killed us. It's somewhat like that today also. I mean, try going out to Sarojini Nagar or Jama Masjid, etc., and you come back safe and sound, just like returning to your cave. Instead of the painting on the cave wall, now you watch your television, you watch your animation, whatever, and so on. Then we moved on. We became hunters and gatherers. We wandered. We were nomadic people. And then, of course, came the great agricultural revolution, which meant it began with riverbank civilization, the Indo-Gangetic plain, the Nile, the Amazon, whatever, and people started moving to them. Now there's a fundamental change. If you were successful in the hunter and gatherer regime, then you had to be physically strong, you had to be agile, you were alert, you could cut a lot of trees, put them on your shoulder, carry them, and so on and so forth. Come agricultural economy, you're doing completely different. You're now growing crops. You're sowing crops, so you need to understand what will grow over here. How will I maintain it? When will I harvest it? And so on and so forth. Completely different set of skills are required. And now you become a great farmer in Punjab. Come the industrial economy. Your knowledge as a farmer is of no use to the factory runner. He wants you to work on that machine. And therefore, distressed, you sell off your farmland, maybe migrate to Canada or Australia, or create a factory in your own thing and start running a factory. Most of us have experience of a little bit of the agricultural age, some bit of the industrial age, and we have had some glimpse of the information age. For the true knowledge economy, we've only got some of these samplers, some examples which we talked about as the animation industry, the search industry, the branding, there are all kinds of things which are moving on, completely new kind of things are happening. But it is for the young. It is for the young because they have to think out of the box, they have to be creative, they have to find new solutions. And the very fact that nobody knows the right solution is a spur for you to create your own solution and move on. I could go on and on giving a harangue about this, but I have another session half an hour later. So I think I'll stop now, but I just want to say that you are at a great point of time. I mean, if any one of you had read A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, although it was written about 200 years ago at the beginning of the French Revolution, its opening sentences are, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the era of hope, it was the era of despair. It was the spring of whatever. So everywhere superlatives, but of opposite kind. For those who will lead, it is a positive kind of superlative. It was the best of times, age of wisdom, age of prosperity. But those who will miss behind, they're going to be having the worst of times and so on. So I wish you all the best and see you later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for really enlightening us about the changing trends in animation.
There's a slight change in the program. On behalf of BIT, I would like to apologize for the absence of one of our very esteemed guests, Mr. N.K. Jain. He has informed us that he had some important assignment, so he couldn't come here.
Now may I request the director of BIT Noida, Professor B.P. Joshi, to present a memento to Professor G.D. Sharma and Professor N.M.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Major Narpat Singh, the director of BIT Jaipur, to present the mementos to our guest. Mr. Rajesh Rao. Lachi. Mr. Paresh Mehta. Mr. Paresh Mehta. Mr. Rahul Bakshi. Mr. Anand Gurnani. Thank you, sir.
Now may I request Mr. Ajay Joshi, Coordinator of Animation and Multimedia Department, for a vote of thanks.
Before I start the vote of thanks, I would like to tell everybody the world is flat and the world is very, very small. Thomas Friedman, who wrote The World is Flat, he has devoted almost a chapter on Mr. Rajesh Rao of Dhruva Interactive. So if you read his philosophy of Dhruva and everything is encompassed in that more than almost a chapter. So the world is also small, and we have very dedicated people in our industry today, and they are here with us. Like Mr. Paresh Mehta, he is a pioneer in animation, and he has a company in Delhi, Jeco Animation, and also an academy. And we are very, very proud of them to come over here and share with us. He working with George Lucas in Industrial Light and Magic in America, but India, his country, that invited him back, and he is here, and we are very proud to have him here. And Mr. Rahul Bakshi from Pune, he is doing a lot of work, and he is famous for his, perfection. So you will see a lot of his works and his feature film, which is coming maybe in a year or so. So we should be very, happy to have him over here. All the students, please, a big round of applause. I would like to thank Professor G.D. Sharma to take out his time to come over here. And he is a pioneer in his own way in education and also in e-learning. And he has a lot of workshops in e-learning, and we should all, go to those workshops and experience all these new technologies which are being developed by CEC at Delhi. And I would like to thank Professor M.M. Pant to enlighten all the students about what is going to happen and how we should face the world. Thank you for coming, sir. I would like to thank Professor B.P. Joshi for giving us an opportunity and time and all the infrastructure and everything to conduct such a thing and to give up that little bit of extra effort to come on a Sunday and organize everything. Please, thank you, sir. And many people have started today early, and Major Narpat Singh from Jaipur, the director of VIT Jaipur, and we would like to thank him for coming here. Thank you, sir. Mr. Anand Gundani, and I would like to especially thank him, and all the students are waiting for him, to interact, because he has, given all the information to the students and to everybody in the industry, whatever is happening today in India, all over the world, and even people, abroad, they look for his, articles which are regularly on the website, Animation Express. And I thank him for coming over here and staying with us a day more to interact with the students. And this kind of people are there, so that's why this animation industry is going ahead. Thank you for coming. I would like to thank all the faculties and all the students from Jaipur who have come here, especially started at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of them have reached here on time, before time, many of the Delhi students. So big round of applause for the students from Jaipur. I would like to thank Chauhan ji and Naveen Banerjee ji and Pushpinder ji and Prachi for taking so much of effort in staying up late, and Amit ji coming late in the night and seeing everything is okay or not. We should be comfortable today, and many people who are here today, but there are so many names, but we would like to hear about from the speakers and all. So thanks everybody for coming. Thank you very much.
I would also request all the esteemed guests, the parents and all the faculty members to go to the adjoining lawn where we have the tea break plan. Enjoy the tea break.